Welcome back, everyone, to Lesson by Lesson, A Course in Miracles. You know what we do here, right? We dive deep into the text. Today, we're going to be looking at Lesson 94.
And, it's always interesting to kind of build on the momentum of the previous lesson. So coming from lesson 93, I think there's a lot there that really informs how we can approach 94.
Yeah, absolutely. 93 was really about how our perceptions aren't always, they're not always accurate, right? Like how the ego really shapes how we see things.
It's like the ego's got this almost like a funhouse mirror, distorting everything.
100%. And we talk about how the ego is like this, this filter, like it's editing what we see, choosing what gets highlighted and what gets like kind of pushed to the side. And it's all part of this, this agenda that the ego has.
Yeah, it wants to keep us kind of trapped in this very specific way of seeing ourselves in the world.
Right, exactly.
And then, then we get to lesson 94, and it kind of hits us with this bold statement. It just says, I am as God created me.
Okay, I am as God created me. I mean, it sounds simple enough, but I have a feeling that, like most things in the Course, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely some layers here.
So where do we even begin? What's the core message of this lesson?
Well, I think it all boils down to our true nature, like at the very heart of who we are. This lesson is saying that our essence, that blueprint of our being, comes directly from something divine.
Okay. I think I see where you're going with this.
It's like, imagine you have a masterpiece painting, right? And it's created by this amazing artist. That painting carries with it the mark of the artist, like the artist's skill, their vision. It's inherently part of that creation.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
So if we apply that to us, we're saying that since we were created by God, our nature must also reflect that divine origin.
Exactly. It's like we're a walking, talking work of art created by the ultimate artist.
So it's not just some philosophical idea. It's a statement about, like, the reality of our being.
Right. And that's huge. Think about how often we beat ourselves up, how much time we spend focusing on our flaws, feeling not good enough. This lesson is like a direct challenge to all of that. It's saying, hey, those feelings you have, that's not really you. That's not your true nature.
It's like we're so used to focusing on what we think is wrong with us.
Mm-hmm.
We have this inner critic that's always pointing out our mistakes, like it's some kind of highlight reel of our failures.
And the Course actually says that those voices, that inner critic, it's all coming from the ego.
The ego again, huh?
Yeah, the ego loves to keep us separate and judging, so it points out all our perceived flaws, and it just makes us feel more and more isolated from God, from each other, from our true selves.
So the ego's kind of tricking us, right?
Yeah.
Like creating this smoke screen to
Yeah.
hide our true divine self.
Totally. And the crazy thing is, when we start to get a glimpse of our true identity, when we start to recognize ourselves as these divine creations, it changes everything. It shifts our whole perspective.
Okay, so how does that work? How does that change things?
Well, when you really understand yourself as a creation of this perfect, loving source, it starts to chip away at those feelings of self-doubt. That constant need to criticize yourself starts to fade because you're starting to see the truth.
So we're essentially replacing the ego's narrative with a new one, a narrative that's rooted in this idea of inherent perfection.
Exactly. It's like trading in those old, distorted glasses for a pair that actually allows us to see clearly. And that clarity, it can impact everything. How we see ourselves, how we treat ourselves, how we interact with the world.
Now, here's what I'm curious about. If I can really wrap my head around this idea, if I can really feel this truth that I am as God created me, how does that change how I see other people?
That's such a good question. And I think this is where the ripple effect really starts to kick in. Because if we can see our own inherent worth, our own divinity, it becomes much easier to see that same spark in others, too.
It's like we're all connected, like we're all part of the same source.
Absolutely. And suddenly those judgments, those criticisms we tend to throw around, they start to lose their power because we're recognizing this shared divine essence in everyone.
It makes me think of a mosaic. All these different pieces, but they all come together to create this beautiful whole.
I love that analogy. It's so true. And this is why Lesson 94 is such a crucial piece of the puzzle in A Course in Miracles.
Because it gets at the heart of who we are and what reality really is.
Exactly. It invites us to question everything we thought we knew about ourselves and to embrace a much bigger, more loving understanding of who we truly are.
So we've got this powerful idea, this affirmation of our divine nature. But how do we actually live this? How do we make it more than just words on a page?
Well, we need to find ways to integrate it into our daily lives. Make
Right.
it practical. And one of the simplest, most effective ways to do that is through daily affirmation.
You mean like literally saying, I am as God created me out loud.
Exactly. Take some time each day, maybe just a few minutes, to consciously and intentionally repeat that phrase.
Is that all there is to it? Just saying the words.
Well, it's not just about saying the words, it's about feeling them. Bringing your full attention to the statement and allowing yourself to really consider what it means. Like, what would it feel like to truly believe in your heart that your fundamental nature is perfection, is divinity?
So it's like we're trying to embody that feeling, not just go through the motions.
That's it. It's like planting a seed. The affirmation is the seed, and your intention is the water and sunlight that helps it grow. And by focusing on this truth regularly, you start to counteract all that negative self-talk that the ego throws at you.
So it's like a counterspell, in a way.
Exactly. And there are certain times when it can be especially helpful.
Oh. Like what?
Well, anytime you notice those feelings of self-doubt creeping in, anytime you're feeling down on yourself, that's the perfect moment to pause and repeat this affirmation. It's a powerful reminder of who you really are, especially when the ego's being really loud.
Yeah.
You can even try incorporating it into your morning routine. It's like setting an intention for the day, starting off on the right foot.
So when that inner critic starts its usual rant, I can consciously choose to interrupt it with this affirmation.
Yes. It's about taking back control of your thoughts and aligning them with the truth of who you are.
I love that. So besides the daily affirmation, are there other things we can do to really deepen this understanding?
Absolutely. Self-reflection is a big one. Throughout the day, just take a few moments to notice when you're feeling less than, when you're being hard on yourself.
Okay, and then what?
And in those moments, ask yourself, is this how God would see me? Would God create me this way? Use the lesson as a way to challenge those negative perceptions you have about yourself.
So it's about being mindful of when we're falling into those old patterns and consciously using the lesson as a tool to shift our perspective.
Precisely. And if meditation is something you're into, you could even try a short meditation where you focus on the idea of being created by this loving, perfect source. Visualize yourself being bathed in that love and light, really seeing the perfection within you.
It sounds like it's all about being consistent and approaching this from different angles. The affirmation helps set the tone, self-reflection helps us catch those negative patterns, and meditation allows for a deeper connection.
Exactly. It's about bringing the lesson to life, not just keeping it as an intellectual concept.
So as we wrap up, what's the one key takeaway from Lesson 94 that our listeners should walk away with?
I think it's this. Those negative voices, those doubts and fears, they don't define you. They're not the truth of who you are. Lesson 94 reminds us that we are inherently perfect, inherently divine. It's a declaration of freedom from the ego's limitations.
And by actively working with the lesson, through those practices we talked about, we can start to dismantle those false beliefs and really step into a more authentic, self-accepting way of being.
Absolutely. It's an invitation to remember who we truly are, and in that remembering, to experience a deeper sense of peace and connection to our source.
This has been so insightful. Thank you so much for taking us on this journey through Lesson 94.
It's been my pleasure. I hope everyone listening finds this lesson as transformative as I do.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into A Course in Miracles. And as always, please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow for the next lesson.